93, 93, 93. This is Aman Asharenew from asharenew.com. Now, this particular article, it says Premier League players to have mandatory sexual consent training. So what's been going on is there has been many allegations of sexual misconduct by top tier football players to the point where people are losing deals. One football player or one sports player just lost a deal with Nike, because he was accused of rape. So there's been a lot of sexual deviancy going around. And of course, this is directly tied to the Pluto retrograde, as Pluto represents the sexual organs. So people who are in positions, to have access to many women or even men, is definitely being used to a extreme level. And this is because of the karmic forces being released from Pluto. This is why it's making the news now. Now, of course, this is nothing new, so I'm not saying the Pluto retrograde is why people do what they do. But this is why it is making it to the media and why this has become a mandatory training. This is the point I'm making, because before this, it wasn't a mandatory training, but it has been occurring so much. Now the media must acknowledge it because changes are occurring, and Pluto also represents changes. Mandatory changes, major transformations. So because of the environment we are in, this is why it has finally become a new rule or a new law after having been occurring. Like, some of the players have been accused of rape multiple times. So it ain't just one time or two times. Some of the players are just being accused, but none of them have done any jail time because they are in a privileged position. So what we see occurring is those who have been placed in a privileged position have been protected, meaning their actions have been suppressed. And of course, for the victims, that's the worst thing ever. Somebody harms you, makes you do something against your will, and they receive no punishment. And you're lucky to even get a settlement out of the situation because you're dealing with a protected class. And of course, when you're dealing with a protected class, you're going to be dealing with corruption. You're going to be dealing with people who can get away with things you simply cannot get away with. And continue, And the reason why this occurs is because these sports players make, not that they make personally a lot of money, they generate a lot of money. It's not even about the money that they make, it's about their ability to generate income for the companies, the owners, and then that money is then spread around. So there's always a lot of money on the line, especially if you're talking about star players. So when star players make mistakes, those mistakes tend to get swept under the rug because the amount of money that can potentially be lost if a star player goes to jail or their reputation gets slandered and they have to get kicked off the team, that's more stressful than just paying someone off and signing a NDA so that they can't speak about it to the media. That's most of the time that's what occurs. They get paid off and then they are not allowed to speak about it ever again. So this is what happens more than usual, right? All right. So once again, this goes towards Jupiter representing famous people, and then Pluto representing obsession, famous people being obsessed with what? Chaos, Neptune. And then low chaos because Saturn is also retrograde. So now that's, you can say, so-called famous people expressing their lowest self, which then leads to chaos and abuse and addiction. So this is why we're seeing so much of these energies playing out on the world stage, and why it's being reported to the media now, and why changes are occurring. So expect more of these types of stories to continue to be released as these retrogrades energy plays out karma on the world stage. So with that, I bear peace. 93, 93, 93.